Well, I bet you can guess what today is in the shop. Today's Drawknife Day. And I have to say, Stephen Gwynn, you got me on the Drawknife trail again. I tell you, that was a great video on sharpening. It helped. You know, that's the thing. It's like you can get information and knowledge from anywhere, and you just have to be open to it. I really enjoyed that video. I picked up a few tips myself, and so it got me motivated to get out the draw knives and figure some stuff out. Because, you know, there's part of the reason I put my draw knives down was that I just wanted to explore other tools and just other methods, and see if I could find something that was, I like when I get used to a tool, I like for it to be thought and response, you know, what I think is a split second away from what happens to the material. And I found myself, when I started putting them down, I found myself getting farther away from that, and there was an element of frustration to it. So anyway, we got the two draw knives here at the shop, and this one I just sharpened today, and I did not sharpen it by hand because I'm not going to reiterate what Stephen has already done, because if you are going to sharpen by hand, you might as well watch his video. And whether you're using abrasives like he is, or you want to use whetstones or oil stones or diamond stones, the concept that he has is perfect and is perfectly explained. What I want to get at is sharpening on a belt grinder, just real bare bones, nothing fancy, but it gets you a great edge and something you can maintain while you're working, and then discuss angles, because I actually solved my conundrum with the old draw knives, and it took some thinking, but then I thought about it in terms of hand planes, and light bulb went off, and I think so. I love my draw knives now again. Okay, friends, we're back, and it really, the size of the belt grinder doesn't really matter. You could have a little bench top, and if it's a good one, you can get the same results. Now, whether you can get the same belts that I get for this 2x72, I don't know. But it is kind of specific. And, you know, sharpness, and I'll get to it in a minute. First, I'm going to go with sharpening. First of all, let's talk about angles. Let's talk about angles. 25 is what Stephen had said. That's a great angle for just general purpose stuff. And that's awesome. I totally concur with that. But the wood also dictates what's going on. Now, an angle is not for every wood. There's different hardnesses, especially in hickory, where you see this hunk that I've been practicing on. There's some heartwood, and here's some sapwood. And I'm getting a totally different feel. The hardness here is a little bit, it's a little bit easier over here in the sapwood, but you can see that this takes on it's kind of a little bit of both in this hunk of wood right here. And this here right here is mostly sapwood. You can see. And this one was tooling much easier. And then we go to the Osage orange, which is definitely a hardwood as well. And it was doing great. It was doing absolutely great. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see the little, we're cutting well. But this was the one that I had sharpened up in the shop. And I was just having problems with it. I was getting frustrated with it. And actually, I was a little frustrated with the one at home, especially in the harder material. And so, rolling around in my head. And finally, I'm sitting there over there practicing with that thing. And I thought, you know what? Let me think about this. And I started thinking about it in terms of hand planes. Now, we have just a general smoothing plane here. And we have a low angle block plane here. These angles that are more, I guess you would want to say obtuse. I think obtuse. That's an acute angle. I think this is probably 15 degrees or something like that. But these cut a lot better in harder woods, whereas these, the angle is so steep that it tends to chatter. I knew this. I know this. I've known this for years. So why couldn't I was thinking, well, the principle is the same exact thing for a draw knife. So I made the connection. Low angle, harder wood. Higher angle, softer wood. Breakthrough moment. So the other draw knife hadn't been touched since I got it off of eBay. I was just mainly using it to get bark and stuff off with. So the first thing you really need, I would say it's a must-have. Whether you're sharpening chisels or whatever you're sharpening, is some sort of angle finder. And you can see on this Veritas that the angles rotate. Now this would be for a beveled edge, not an edge like an axe. They make stuff for knives and axes and whatnot as well. But this one goes all the way from 10 to 30, I believe. And so what I did was, I had Stevens 25 in mind, and I thought, well, you know, I was like, that doesn't, let me see if I can get a picture of it. But basically, there we go. I was like, that doesn't look like 25 degrees. So I came to this, and it was over 30. It's probably more like 35. And as you saw in the intro bit, if you saw me move the workbench, that's the trouble that we're having. It's cutting fine. I still have the, you know, it's all of this is both knives. So we still have that super clear cut, no splintering, no tear out, really in both directions if you're careful. But you just have a huge amount of drag through the material to where it actually, as it comes through, there's so much material, it's almost going down, and it's taking more wood fiber, and all of a sudden it stops. So what I did was I said, well, this thing is kind of junked anyway. So what I did was this is 20 degrees. So what I did was I affixed a little fence to my work surface here. And before I clamped it tight, I just set this guy in here like this and made sure that this angle, that the bevel matched my platen. Now, I'm pretty much ready to start. The 120, the burnished 120 belt is going to do the initial shaping and establish the initial edge. You can go coarser, but you don't want to remove a lot of material fast. And I would also suggest the way I gauge what's going on with the heat is I do not wear gloves. And if you can touch it, you're pretty much good. If it starts getting warm, you know to pull it off and get some water on it and cool it down. So with the 120 burnished, start there. And I just go until I have a nice shape that I like. I also had to adjust the spine on this, which meant kind of bending it back to where it was fairly straight. This was not a concave or a convex knife. It was meant to be straight. So anyway, you shape it with your 120 burnished. Then I move up to 320. Then I move up to 600. Then I move up to 1,000. And then to finish it off, there's a polishing belt made by 3M. This belt is, see if we can get it to focus. This is my finishing belt. And it's a 3M Trizact A30. And they do make these in different grits. You can establish whatever grits you want to do. It's up to you. I'm in a production type of situation. I'm looking to get back in the game as fast as I can. If something's dull, I want it sharp and I want to get back to my work. And basically when you have your fence, you need to take care when you're setting this fence that you get the same here as the same there. But once you get that dialed in, you're home free. So I just start and let me tell you, that is sharp. And I'm just holding the handles and lifting up slightly. And for this guy, that's all I need. Now another thing that I have is, I had these for my chisels anyway, but I would suggest getting some diamond stones. And for dressing the backside, you've got a piece of steel that just sits right there, so you don't even have to worry about it. And we're just knocking that burr off the back of it. Now I could take it to the dental lathe and buff it out, but let's pretend like we're working on Handel's great guns and we're trying to get going. We're just gonna bring it over to the strop and we're gonna strop it off and we're gonna get back in the game. The main point of this whole scenario is when you're sharpening, don't just sharpen and stop there. What you need to do is take time to put some stock in the vise and see how you're cutting. You don't want to be ready to go and ready to work and then, and have the confidence that you sharpened your tool and then you get to it and you're just getting frustrated and bummed out because you're shanking pieces of wood off and you're just not having a good time. So that's what today is kind of about. So it's really important. Again, we're gonna take the 30 degrees and we're gonna try, and this is gonna have to get reground. I'm not gonna put up with it, but let me grab a piece of poplar and just show you. And it was dragging. Here's a little piece of poplar, which is a much softer wood than what hickory and Osage orange. So we've got our you see, it's even chattering just a little bit still yet, especially at the end. But it's cutting a lot easier. Now, this is not the one that I put in the grinder, mind you. It's cutting very, very nice. But once I get that into the harder wood, it's not gonna happen. It's gonna work, but it's gonna work pretty terribly. But you can see how nice. So we're definitely sharp. We're definitely cutting hair on the arms. I did that off camera. And it's very, very smooth, but it's really not a working edge. So I think that's what you're after. You've got to have confidence in your tool. And let's just clamp up this piece again and run the 20 degrees on it. Now see, this is actually gliding through the material. So I would say that this 30-degree edge is just a no-go. It's just not. It's going to get reground for sure because, man, what do I have in there? No? Okay, we're good. This is just working so much better. So, sharpen, use. And if it's not doing what you want it to do, figure it out. So now we'll come back to the hickory. We'll come back to the heartwood hickory. Heartwood is just a pain no matter how you slice it. That's another point that I want to make is pick your battles. Fit the tool with the material. This heartwood is well, here you can see there's a branch right there. So we've got a lot going on in this grain. There's a super heck of a lot going on in this little hunk of wood. So reading the wood is really super important, and responding with the appropriate tool. You don't want to be a one-legged man at a butt kicking contest because you'll just get frustrated. But let's move over to just pure sapwood and see what happens. We'll start with a new edge here, but always be tinkering. But see how this just glides through. And remember, if you're hogging, don't use so much of your arms. Use your body. A little bit of arms at the end, but go this way. Still getting used to this vise. There, that's probably good. But we're cutting a heck of a lot better here. You know, you'll feel it. You know, it's the same It's the same as stand up and buck sharp. It really is. I have confidence in what I'm doing right now with this tool. I feel like I can control it. Take a little bit, take a lot. So I now have a level of confidence with this tool that I did not have prior to my sharpening. And it wasn't just the sharpening, it was the troubleshooting. Don't just assume that you're ready to go when you sharpen. You know, if you can, cutting the hair on your arm and slapping a piece of wood in your vise and checking out things and seeing how they go, those are two different things. So now you check your edge every once in a while, and if you roll your edge over, take your fine diamond stone, and you can fix that just like that. Come back to your strop. Little polishing compound on it. And you're back in business. I mean, I really feel good about this one. And I feel like I accomplished something as well. I figured something out. That makes me very happy, especially for a Monday. Anyway, Stephen Gwynn, I love it. I love that video. Keep them coming, brother. The home light, let's see more of that home light. Saw Charlie and Taz out there in the bush working together. That was awesome. I thought that was so cool. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well, and more to come. I heard from the Sawyer west of town this morning. He's got 3 hickory stems for me. One I think I'm gonna buy. I also contacted another sawmill out of state, which seems to have exactly what I'm looking for, so that's going to be a source. I'm gonna keep the trees coming and buy from him. It's dried lumber to custom orders, so I'm really stoked about that. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Happy Monday, and let's have a good week. Talk to you soon.